world spins its endless cycles, feeding on actions and consequences that no one escapes. Consider how people strut through alleys of deceit, convinced their footprints vanish with every step. They whisper, conspire, devour opportunities, trample on fragile hopes. They think themselves above all reckoning, yet karma stalks them invisibly, a silent collector tallying what's owed. That list never burns, never fades. When the moment ripens, karma lands with a soft hush at their doorstep, grinning as it knocks. No invitation needed. Its footsteps echo through corridors where secrets hide, each echo drawing closer until the one who thought they'd escaped shivers, sensing something ancient, patient, and implacable standing outside. When the door creaks open, karma steps in, taking its due without a blink. Picture a grand stage where kings and queens of deception wield tricks, laugh at innocence, mock weakness. They assume their cunning shall shield them forever. But karma's eyes see through the masks. Every slight, every hurt inflicted, every stolen dream is etched in invisible ink across fate's ledger. It's comedic, in a sinister way, how these tyrants bask in their illusion of immunity. They imagine control, yet karma cares nothing for their illusions of power. It steps over their velvet rugs and polished floors, tracking mud straight into their carefully curated worlds. By the time they realize a guest has arrived, it's too late. Karma doesn't need their permission, nor does it care for their pleas. It has come to settle accounts. Imagine the shift in atmosphere when karma makes its presence known. A chill slips under doors. A candle sputters. Shadows lengthen as if hungry to swallow pretense. Those who long believed themselves untouchable start to sweat. They fumble for alibis, for excuses that drip like stale ink. But karma's ledger accepts no excuse. The hours of bravado turn sour. The mind races back over scenes, recalling faces wronged, deals betrayed, kindness spat upon. They wonder if another version of themselves might have chosen mercy. But it's far too late for that question now. The city might sleep, unsuspecting. But inside the soul's chamber, a trial begins. The verdict was written long ago by actions set in motion. Karma only delivers what was promised. Unpaid debts come due, no matter how cunningly hidden. This force doesn't concern itself with timing pleasant for the accused. It may appear when fortunes shine brightest, when laughter brims at a banquet, when everything seems so perfectly stable. That's the sweetest irony. Karma waits until it hurts most. The spectacle brings a twisted delight. Those who rejoiced in another's pain now face something more intricate than mere vengeance. It's balance. Ruthless, yet fair in its own cryptic arithmetic. Others watch from the sidelines, hesitant to cheer or mourn. They taste the tension in the air, see that no one is immune. Karma dances lightly on the edge of reason, beyond bribes or pleas, indifferent to tears. It simply does what it came to do. The mind tries to outthink karma, to guess its moves, but logic falters. 1,000 reasons might explain why now, why here, why this form of retribution. None matter. Fate's tapestry doesn't unravel for human comfort. Some might call it superstition, others call it poetic justice. Either way, karma's presence feels heavier than any moral code. It's not about good or evil, just action and consequence. Even the self-righteous tremble, for who can claim spotless hands? The quiet hum of inevitability settles over the scene as karma completes its silent ritual. Then it moves on, unhurried, leaving those impacted to decipher what just happened. In a world choked with illusions, karma stands as a silent enforcer of equilibrium. It cares nothing for titles or reputations. The rich man who trampled an honest soul one day finds himself cornered by invisible furies, undone by the very deals that once made him smirk. The clever trickster whose lies brought laughter now wakes in a sweat, nightmares showing him the faces he mocked coming back, eyes hollow, waiting. And karma never forgets an address. It might skip a few seasons, let one believe escape was successful, then arrive unexpected, splendid in its terror. To outsiders, it looks like chance, misfortune, a sudden twist. But those who understand recognize karma's signature in every downward spiral that arrogance triggers. The dark humor lies in how karma never brags. It doesn't announce itself with fanfare, no triumphant scream. It acts silently, precisely. Some wail about cosmic injustice, ask why destiny singled them out, oblivious to their past deeds dripping like black ink on invisible parchment. Those who once laughed at others' pleas now find their own pleas swallowed by silence. All along, karma watched, a hidden spectator collecting data, waiting for the prime moment to swing the pendulum back. And when it swings, it cuts clean through illusions. The aftermath leaves a stale taste in the mouth. Sincere remorse might arrive too late, a useless offering before an unblinking judge. In the face of karma, excuses disintegrate. The clever realize this too late, realizing no cleverness can outwit a force that thrives on the simplest law: reap what is sown. Actions once justified by ambition or desperation now weigh heavily. Karma doesn't need a moral dictionary. It moves beyond human constructs, propelled by the energy people release through their deeds. In that sense, karma cares little about good or evil. It only restores balance. Those caught in its wake may rant, curse fate, try to slither away. But once karma's hand has reached them, struggling is cosmetic. The final toll is non-negotiable. The audience rarely sees karma's full work, only hints, suspicions, dramatic collapses. To them, it might look random, but deep down, a quiet understanding churns. No one truly escapes the consequences of their actions. In a world that tries to rationalize everything, karma remains stubbornly beyond calculation. Its subtlety is part of its elegance. Those who study patterns sense its presence, though proving it is nearly impossible. Yet, as day folds into night, who can deny that something enforces a strange order, that deeds cast shadows which inevitably return? How people treat you is their karma. How you react is yours. Imagine a grand stage, lit by torches flickering under a crimson sky, where each player steps forth, masked, delivering lines meant to enthrall, deceive, or beguile. Each interaction is a transaction of energy. Every gesture, a quiet agreement that karma tallies in its silent ledger. When someone hurls an insult, a betrayal, an attempt to diminish your essence, they paint their own karmic portrait. Their cruelty reveals more about them than it ever can about you. Yet, this realization alone does not absolve you of responsibility. Your reaction, how you choose to absorb or deflect that venom, is the forging of your own karmic path. In these tense exchanges, you stand at a crossroads. The world sets the stage, but you command how the scene ends. The mind must remain vigilant, for one's reaction can either magnify the poison or transmute it into a stepping stone. If you yield to rage, to petty vengeance, you seal your karma in blood-soaked ink. If you remain poised, channeling the energy thrust at you into something shaped by your will, You rise above their attempt to cage your spirit. Consider how easy it might feel to lash out at those who wrong you, to settle scores on their terms, to bask in a momentary surge of triumph as you repay cruelty with cruelty. But feeding that cycle does nothing but bind you deeper to their script, their illusions, their moral failings. Imagine the dark humor of it, taking their bait, tasting it, and becoming part of their karmic trap. True cunning lies in refusing to dance to their tune. Let them spew their offenses. Let them believe they have you cornered. Meanwhile, you observe their outbursts, distill their intentions, and reply from a place they cannot predict. This method demands a calm far beyond what most muster. A silence so sharp, it cuts through their attempts to control the narrative. If you manage this calm, you transform from a victim into something more elusive, an enigma who holds absolute autonomy over emotional responses. Your reaction is where your power resides. The outside world may try to dictate how you feel, provoke you with insults, undermine your sense of worth. But have you ever considered that your reaction remains an untouchable province of your own mind? No one can force your emotional hand unless you surrender it. They push, they prod, they drip poison into your ears, expecting you to lash out, to show weakness or fury. But what if, instead of reacting as expected, you step away from the emotional battlefield, watching their drama unfold from a vantage point of calm indifference? Your restraint becomes a stiletto concealed in a velvet glove. They stand there, hungry for your panic or fury, but discover only a void where their hooks find no purchase. This shift unsettles them. Your karma begins to script itself differently, carving a story where you hold the pen, refusing to let another's venom define your destiny. The world brims with those who blame others for their sorrow, their stagnant fortunes, their insecurities. They fail to grasp the idea that how one reacts to these slings and arrows sets the tone for personal evolution. In a warped sense, your enemies become your greatest teachers, presenting you with endless opportunities to refine your emotional artistry. Each insult becomes a practice round, each disappointment an exercise in honing your reactions. Rage, despair, or bitterness might beckon, but you turn your gaze inward, discovering that your reaction can be sculpted with intention. By consciously choosing your response, you break the chains that tether you to their negative influence. This is the subtle alchemy of karma, transforming what others aim to harm you with into raw materials for strengthening your inner core. Those who understand this secret carve out a private empire of emotional resilience, invisible to the eyes of the world, yet more valuable than all external treasures. There is a quiet humor in watching the confusion unfold on the faces of those who try to provoke you. They unleash their arsenal: mockery, sabotage, condescension, expecting you to dance to their chaotic tune. When you do not, when you stand serene as a statue in a storm, their confidence falters. They cannot understand why their barbs fail to penetrate. They grow agitated, desperate to find a crack in your armor. Each attempt leaves them more frustrated, feeding their own karma with panic. Meanwhile, you stand untouched, your karma forged in self-mastery. This reversal of roles reveals that the biggest secret is that no one can harm you emotionally without your cooperation. Reject that cooperation, and you disrupt their narrative. Their karma clings to them like a noose tightening, while you ascend to a vantage point free from their manipulations. Your karma thrives in the space between stimulus and response. This space is small, often missed by those who react instinctively. When confronted with aggression or scorn, most jump directly to anger or submission. But if you insert a pause, a moment of silence, you claim that space for yourself. In that silence, you rewrite the script. Instead of rising to their bait, maybe you offer a humor-laced remark that deflects their venom into thin air. Maybe you walk away, leaving them baffled, or reply with calm honesty that disarms their strategy. The key lies in that deliberate pause, the instant where you choose which path your karma takes. And in that choice, you become a sculptor of fate, molding it with a careful hand. For centuries, thinkers have advised careful mastery of emotions, but the masses shrug off these teachings as impractical. After all, anger feels so natural, so justified in the face of insult. But anger is a chain around your neck. Enemies rely on that anger to pull you into their chaos, to paint you in colors of their choosing. By denying them that victory, you deny them your energy. Their attempts at control fall flat, leaving them alone with the bitterness they unleashed. Meanwhile, you walk on, calm and unburdened, your karma shining like a polished blade hidden under your cloak. Let them spin their webs. Your refusal to tangle in them starves their illusions. Even as you perfect this art, do not mistake it for surrender. It is no retreat to remain calm. It is a cunning advance on a different battlefield, the battlefield of your inner domain. Each encounter, each attempt at provocation, becomes a test you pass with poise. In passing these tests, your karma evolves into a force guiding you to higher ground, to a vantage point where external chaos cannot rattle you. This superiority arises not from cruelty or malice, but from clarity. The clarity that others' attempts to harm you reveal their karma, and your measured response reveals yours. One day you realize they have no power unless you hand it to them. This revelation cracks the entire chessboard of manipulation.